Good afternoon, grade 7s. Welcome back today. I hope you've got a wonderful morning so far. You guys will see we are going to look at the assessment marking, the assessment that you should have done yesterday. So we will talk through that right now. But the few that's attending the class today, let's just greet each other in the chat box first. As I said, we're going to do the marking of the assessment. So I hope you've got your assessment of yesterday ready with you and with a pen. How it's going to work, we're going to work through the different questions. I will indicate to you how many marks it is going to count and how you must mark it and give yourself the marks. And if you have any questions, please, you need to put your question in the chat box so I can answer it for you. Or if you are uncertain about your answer, and then at the end of the day, then we're going to add it up to get a total. You need to give your total through to me on the chat box. And then as soon as I'm going to look at it, then I will compare your mark to what I have then in front of me. Right, so as I said, the assessment with the answers and a pen, you must sit ready. Right, if we start with question one was for 10 marks and it was about the history of money. And let us just this first slide is like a case study. So let us just first read through it and then we can look at the questions that was asked. Okay, so I will read for you guys then. They say they read the information below on the history of money and do the activities or the questions that follows. Right, let me just see before we start with what they say in the chat box. Okay, Minos, that's fine. If you have write it down on a test page and submitted it, no problem at all. That's really not going to be a train smash. Okay, Boy Pelio, you say there was a mistake in the test. Okay, guys, just indicate to me because remember, when I sent the test through, then there was a technical guy that have made some changes to the test. So let me just hear from you guys, where was the mistake? And then as soon as we get to that part, then we can look at it. Okay, it was the numbering thing. Okay, sorry, I thought that was something else. Okay, no, don't worry. The numbering thing, we will get to that. Okay, that is also not so big train smash at all. All right, but let's first read through the case study of the history of money. The term barter is used when people exchange goods for other goods of similar value. In history, bartering took place with livestock and later with agriculture crops. A person would exchange a head of cattle for 2 small donkeys, for example. Cowrie shells were first used as money in China from around 1200 before Christ to the middle of the last century. The first metal money was also produced in China at around 1000 before Christ, when people produced mock cowrie shells as a medium of exchange. Tools made of metal, such as knives, were also used as money. Chinese coins were usually produced with a hole in them so that they could be tied together with rope or wire. The Chinese coins were produced from base metals. Later on, people in the Greek, Persian, and Roman empires made coins out of precious metals such as gold, silver, and bronze. They also started putting images of the faces of their gods or emperors on the coins to indicate their value. China was the first country to produce notes. The Chinese made notes out of animal skin at around 118 years before Christ. The first paper money was used in China from the 9th to the 15th century. Paper money was used only much later in Europe, and by 1455 the Chinese stopped using paper money. There was so much paper money in circulation that the prices of goods increased drastically, causing serious inflation. The North American Indians used strings of beads made from clamshells as money. They called it, and I'm not sure if I pronounce it right, but it's wampum. In Africa, cattle were regarded as a value currency. It was regarded as a status symbol if a person had many cattle. The cattle could provide milk and meat, skins for clothes, and horns for containers. They were used to pay fines. When a young man wanted to marry, he had to pay lobola to the girl's father in the form of cattle. In 1816, England linked the value of the money to gold. This helped to prevent the inflation of the currency. The value of the paper money would be linked to a certain number of ounces of gold. The USA started using the gold standard in 19,000. In 1933, a great economic depression caused much hardship. As a result, the USA began a campaign to end the practice of linking the value of currency to gold. Today's notes and coins are no longer linked to the gold standard. The value of currency is linked to the economic performance of a country. We now also use what is called digital money because we can do our banking over the internet without even touching cash. Right, so this was just a little bit of a story of how the money and the history of money was working. Actually, as I said, it normally started with bartering where they exchanged goods and how it changed over the years. Right, let's look at the questions. There is a column A and a column B, so you need to match it with each other. Right, so I'm just going to say column A. Column A is metal coins, cowrie shells, barter, cattle, silver coins, paper money, leather money, gold standard, digital money, and then that strange with wampum. All right, I'm going to the answers. It's counting 10 marks. There are 10 things, so it's going to be 1 mark each. So quickly look at your answers. And then you mark question 1 that you have in front of you. So if I can scan through each, 1.1 is E, 1.2 D, 1.3 F, 0.4 H, 0.5 G, 0.6 I, 0.7 J, 0.8 A, 0.9 B, and 0.10 C. There's nothing else. It cannot be something else. So that is straightforward, the answers that you see in front of you, 1 mark each, and that gives you then the 10 marks. Okay, as I said, there's no other answer for question 1, but still, if you have a question, please put it in the chat box. All right, I'm just going to stick a few seconds on this slide so you can finish marking question 1 before we're going to continue. All right, if there's a late attendance, that's fine. Don't worry, we have just marked so far, read the case study from question 1, that was about the history of money. And then I'm just sitting a few seconds on question 1, the slideshow with the answers, so you can just mark it. It's 1 mark each, that gives you a total of 10. And then we will continue now to question 2. And please, people, as I say, don't just sit there. Remember, you are going to give me your marks through now at the end of this lesson when we're done marking. And don't be like the grade 8s was this morning. Only 3 people out of the class sent me the marks. And the moment that I've told them, and this is really the truth, that the school said that if you don't work with us, or you don't want to send your marks, or let's say you're going to send the info too late, for instance, then we can subtract 20% from your final mark. And please, I don't want to do that. So the moment that I've told them that this morning, I'd received like 8 marks in a minute. So please mark it, sit ready. So when we get to the end of the lesson, you can give your marks through. Okay. Um, if you don't have the paper with the answers on when you have done it on the internet, maybe just copy the answers quickly, okay, on a normal piece of paper. And when you're done, you can always go back and check, for instance, and remark it. So you just have to maybe make a little note every time how the marks is working. And then you all by now already know my number. And then you can just WhatsApp your mark to me as well. Okay, there's another person that was not attending yesterday. Um, I just want to make a note of that. So if the school is asking me, so I can tell them that you didn't attend. Okay. Both Billy, you said there was a mistake, so how is supposed to mark? It's a numbering mistake. Really, it's not going to do anything to your answer or to your marks. It was just a numbering from 1.5 to 1.6, for instance. So that's not going to change anything in your marks. Okay. So that is not going to be the problem. The rest of you that have already submitted it, please see maybe if you, as far as possible that you can think, what was your answers? Okay, I know question 1 is going to be very difficult, but please try again. I will also go back now to the questions, the previous slide, that you can have a look at that. And then just plus minus give me an idea what you will think, what your marks is going to be. So I can compare it. Okay, so just give me plus minus an indication. It don't have to be 100% correct. Okay, so what I will quickly do is, for those people that have submitted it, okay, let me go back to the previous slide. Okay, quickly look there. So if you need to redo it, let's say now, okay, quickly check what your answers is going to be, and then I will put it now on the correct slide as well. So let us just stick a few minutes on this one so we can get everyone ready before we can continue. So I'm just going to repeat again. Quickly look at that column A and B. Quickly match it with each other. If you are going to do it now for the first time, write down the letters, the number and the letter on a piece of paper. Then I will show you now the correct answers and mark according to that. And then the rest of the questions, you might remember a little bit more what you have answered yesterday, and then your plus minus going to work on those totals. Okay. All right, I think most of you have that now. So let me quickly go back to the correct answers. So now you quickly mark your question one. Okay, I think most of you got that one now. If you still need an answer, just let me know so I can go back. But in the meantime, I'm going to put on question two. Question two, also 10 marks. Here I've put the question and the answer for you. And now you need to listen, okay, for the marks. 2.1 is saying, discuss what you know about the role of trade unions. The role of trade unions. Now, remember, for answering it, I have put quite a very long, full definition here to help you with the marks. So I'm first going to read what is standing there, and then I will repeat it in short and how you must give the marks. Trade unions are independent, membership-based organizations of workers that represent and negotiate on behalf of working people. They give advice when their members have problems at work, represent members in discussions with employers, and help improve wages and working conditions by negotiating with employers. Right. It's 2 marks. So if you have said something about it is an organization or an independent organization, 1 mark. And then for the next mark, if you have mentioned something about that they help workers regarding working conditions, how to improve to get maybe higher wages and salaries, or they do discussions with employers, anything of the kind of that, then you can give this 2nd mark. So 2.1 is about the role of trade unions for 2 marks. If you have mentioned something about it's an organization of working people, then 1 mark. And if you have mentioned something about the looking after the problems of the workers, to have discussions with employers about the working conditions, negotiating with employers, anything of that kind, then you can give yourself another mark there. 2.2 is explain what savings are. Savings, right? It is saying that savings is an income not spent or deferred consumption. Methods of saving include putting money aside in, for example, a deposit account, a pension account, an investment fund, or as cash. Right, so explain what savings are for 2 marks. If you have said something that it is money that is set aside for future, then you can give yourself another mark or 1 mark. It's money set aside for the future. If you have said that you don't touch that money, you can give the 2nd mark. Or if you have said that how you can save it by putting it in a deposit account, investment fund, etc. Also second mark there. So 2.2, explain what savings are for 2 marks. First mark is when you set something as money that you set aside for future. Second mark is that you don't touch it, or how you're going to save it, like in a deposit account, investment fund, pension account, etc. 2.3, explain what investment is for 2 marks. Investment. To invest is to allocate money in the expectation of some benefit in the future. Okay, if you have said that investment is when you invest in something like buying an asset, like a vehicle, then you can give the marks for you. So investment is when you invest money in, like buying assets, for instance, like a vehicle or a house that is having some money value. So you can go and sell it over a few years again, and then you will get some money back for that. So 2.3, explain what investment is for 2 marks. I'm just going to repeat that one. So investment is when you invest money in buying something like an asset, like a vehicle, for instance, that has a money value and that you can sell it in the future so you can get some money back. 2.4, why and how do people invest their money for retirement? Retirement for 2 marks. I've given a lot of info there, so you can see wherever you can get the 2 marks. I said there, let's just first go through the list. Get an investment that is right for you. You can do it by fixed deposits, and then you will see with each one, I've given a little description. So fixed deposits is South Africa earn the best investment rate and guaranteed returns at a fixed interest rate over a fixed term. While notice deposits earn a market-leading rates with a choice of notice periods to access. Access accumulator, that is when market earns a leading rate that increase monthly with anytime access. And tax-free investment is earn a market leading rate and get non-taxable returns in your anniversary month. So it's only 2 marks, so you don't have to mention all of them. Basically, I want 2 things there. Okay, this was quite a more difficult question. So if you're not maybe sure about your answer, please put it in the box and I will check for you. So 2.4, why and how do people invest their money for retirement? For 2 marks, so 2 things you must mention. So either you can say that they must choose an investment that is right for their needs. They can do fixed deposits or notice deposits or access accumulator or tax-free investment. 2.5, why is the risk in savings smaller than the risk in investments for 2 marks? Why is the risk in savings smaller than the risk in investments for 2 marks? Okay, let me first read and then we will take it again. Savings is a constant option, while investment, your money is set in different risk portfolios where the risks can be small, medium, or large. Right. So if you have said for 2 marks, if you have said that savings is normally smaller amounts and investment are bigger amounts, and therefore the risk is more than with investments, then you can give yourself the 2 marks there. Or if you said basically the same thing, but you have mentioned, and I did say this the previous time when we have done savings and investment, that investment are or let's start with savings. Savings is when you set a certain amount aside. Okay, you don't touch it. But investment is where you put your money in different risk profiles. And it can be small, medium, or large. And what do they mean with that is that the risk profiles, let's say you have 500,000 and you want to put 200,000 in a small risk profile, then it means you're not really going to lose any money, but your money is also not going to increase actually. But if you put it in a large or in a big risk profile, then the chance is very good that you might lose some money, but the chance is also good that you're going to make a lot of money. Okay, so depending on what risk profile your investment is going to be. All right, so again, 2.5. Why is the risk in saving smaller than the risk in investments for 2 marks? So just if you say that savings is normally a smaller amount, investment is a bigger amount, then you can give you the marks. Or if you have mentioned that investments are set out in different risk profiles, that's actually a very good answer, then also the 2 marks there for you. Right, I'm just going to stick still a few seconds on this page so you can finish marking question 2. Right, so I'm going to move on. If you need still an answer on this page, let me know. Question 3, also for 10 marks. 3.1 is saying list 5 possessions you can find in a typical home in the area where you live. So you can just basically check around, look around you and find 5 possessions. Okay, that is basically going to be assets. So I've mentioned a few there: house, vehicle, furniture, equipment, table and chair, sound system, etc. So if you're uncertain, ask me, but any 5 things you must mention, counting for 5 marks. 3.2, when you borrow money from a friend, what do you call the money that you have to pay back for 2 marks? There is no other answer there. It can only be debt. So it must be debt to get the 2 marks there. So 3.2, when you borrow money from a friend, what do you call the money that you have to pay back? We talk about the debt for 2 marks. Okay, see there's somebody that is, it's about 3.1. I'm not sure what you're telling me. I think, do you want to say to me it is optional, the question? I'm not sure what you tried to tell me, so maybe if you can just type again in the box. Uh, oh, okay. Um, Yeah, as I said, any five possessions that you can see around you. Remember, I've just mentioned a few there, but the five things that you see, that is possessions. What is possessions? Possessions is things that you can see and you can touch it. So it is basically assets at the end of the day. So any five things. I mean, you've got something in your room that's not here with me. So it's difficult to say, but as I said, as long as it's an asset, if you know it's an asset and you can see it, you can touch it, then it is fine to form part of the five things. Then you also said, is it wrong if we said O for 3.2? Yeah, that is wrong. I don't want anything else there except debt, because that is a certain, um, let's say, account. What do you call that when you owe somebody money? And that is a debt. You owe it to him, that's right, but what do we call it? Okay, so 3.2, nothing else except debt. Then 3.3, identify the source document involved with each of the following transactions. With 3.3.1, Sally buys a second-hand sewing machine for her sewing business from the pawn shop. She pays with a check. Okay, that is only one mark, and that cannot be anything else because I was already actually giving you the answer there. So she's paying with a check, so of course, then it must be a check or a check counter for the source document. Okay, so she is buying a sewing machine. She needs to pay for it. Okay, and remember, okay, if you pay something, your journal will be the CPJ, but what is the source document that is always involved with that journal? And that will be a check or a check counter for. So nothing else except those two things for one mark. In point two, Kulisa goes to the bank to deposit the day's taking or the day's money. So that will be, she needs to complete a deposit slip at the bank for also a mark, deposit slip. And point three, Madeleine sends the driver to deliver flowers to a client. The terms are cash on delivery, and that answer is going to be a receipt for one mark because the driver takes the flowers to the client. Okay, that's cash on delivery. That means the client, as soon as he receives the flowers, must immediately give the cash, but the driver must give the client something back as proof of payment, and that will be a receipt. All right, so point one was check or check counter for. Point two, deposit slip. Point three, receipt. They are 1 point each. So let me just stick a few seconds on this slide so you can finish marking that. Question three. If you're done with question three, then you need to add up everything, the whole total. So remember, question one was 10 marks in total, question two was 10 marks in total, and question three are 10 marks. So it is then out of 30. So when you're done marking, get your total out of 30, and then please put it in the chat box. You can send it privately to me. Okay, let's see. Somebody's having a question regarding question 3.3.3, asking, is it wrong if you say sales and delivery? Yes, that is wrong because I'm asking for the source document. Okay, so a source document is not sales. A source document is not delivery. A source document is something like a receipt or a check or an invoice or a deposit slip. That is a source document. Okay. So if you're done with your marking, add it up, get yourself a total out of 30, and please put it in the chat box. As I said, you can send it privately to me. And if I'm correct, 6 people is attending today's class. Okay, the second one is coming through, so the rest of you must also send it to me. I'm still waiting for the other people to send their marks. Right, it looks like if we are then done for today, guys, thank you very much. And then we will chat tomorrow again. If you have any questions, then please you know where to contact me as well. All right, people, have a nice afternoon and then we will talk tomorrow again, okay? All right, thank you. Bye-bye.